All right. Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to the live stream. It is Friday, which means, yeah, it's live stream time. It's the end of the week. We're going to talk a little bit about a few news items. This is going to be kind of a light news day, though, because I want to get to the topic that is, oh gosh, I'm bouncing things all over the place. The topic that's actually listed in the title, which is whether expensive devices, streaming devices specifically, are now cheaper than cheap devices. I'll tell you what I mean in just a moment. Okay, so we'll get there in a bit. Let's make sure that we go through some of the housekeeping. First of all, I've got something beeping in my ears, and it's this window, so I got to close that. Okay, all right, that's better. All right. So, first of all, hey, George, welcome. Sylvia, hello. Nice to see you. Joel says, I have some news. The Weather Channel is coming to YouTube TV soon. Hey, there you go. I am curious. Actually, I would love to hear, Joel, what has you excited about that? Okay. So, the Weather Channel, I get its utility, but there seem to be, I run across people who find it genuinely entertaining. So, is it the other programs they have on there? Is it just that you like to stay really up to date and current on your weather across the country or something? So, I'm genuinely curious. Go ahead and leave me a comment. Let me know why you love the Weather Channel so much and why that is exciting to you. If it is, maybe it's just a piece of news that you're sharing. Okay, yeah, I was. David says thought the Air Force would finally hit my house. No, I am a minute or two late. I'm sorry about that. Um, yeah, can you believe that I felt the actual need to put my hair in a man bun before I went live? I looked a little scraggly. So, all right, so um, let's uh, let's get into just a couple news items for today. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Before we do that, got to talk about this, the weekly giveaways. Reviews.org does weekly giveaways here on this channel. Now, the holiday season, which obviously wrapped up almost a month ago, but the holiday season kind of put a weird. It made it weird and difficult to administer that, and so things got a little off kilter. But we're back with the weekly giveaways. So recently, it was a Disney Plus 1 year subscription, and the winner for that, drum roll. This is totally a drum roll, by the way. The winner for that is Carol Black. Carol Black is the winner of the 1 year Disney Plus subscription, or it's a Disney Plus gift card, I think it is. Anyway, so you, Carol, I hope you're watching. Even if you're not, that's okay. We're going to email Carol after this week's live stream. So within about an hour or so, Carol should get an email about that. For the rest of you, head here to reviews.org/giveaways. The link is in the description below. And if you do that, let me show you. Let's see, I can actually share my screen this time. Share screen. Yes. Yes. There we there we go. All right. So this is what we're looking at, the reviews.org product giveaway. Sometimes it's a product, sometimes it's a service. Let's see if we can blow this up a little bit. Yeah, why is it? There we go. All right. So this week, it is a $50 gift card toward a Netflix subscription. So again, if you are already a Netflix subscriber, great. You can still enter to win. It's a $50 Netflix gift card. You can enter that into your Netflix account, and it'll use that to pay for your subscription for a while. So regardless of whether you are or are not a Netflix subscriber, you can enter to win this one. It's super easy. You just come in, put in your first, last name, email. Yeah, there's a couple questions. Are you 18 or older? Are you, legal resident? That sort of thing. So anyway, yeah, very, very easy to get entered in there. All right, some news items. I need to run through a couple of these. First of all, did you all did you all you Roku users, I should say, experience this last night? Or no, 2 nights ago. It would have been Wednesday night. Roku outage leads to frozen TVs and unresponsive devices. Okay, so, oh, you know what? Let's get rid of that thing. There, now you know where it is. All right, so yeah, basically what happened was Roku hasn't told us what happened, but for a lot of Roku devices and even Roku TVs, they were just completely unresponsive. So people get stuck in this loading cycle or it would just freeze up and kind of restart automatically, and then freeze and then restart. Um, and it was apparently very frustrating. But I got to say, I didn't experience it. This was not an issue for me. So, yeah, I'm with George. I didn't notice this. Um, nope, Nathaniel didn't notice it. But apparently, it was a big deal. The Roku subreddit was going crazy on Wednesday. The tweeting was out of control for a little while. Um, so yeah. Anyway, oh, Mark says it happened to me. So yeah, it sounds like for most of us here, Joe, George, Nathaniel, most of us did not experience this, but Mark seems to have had an issue. Yeah, some of the tweeting. This was a nice version of the tweet, a very nice version. There were a lot of tweets that were not so nice. Anyway, so that did occur, but apparently, if that happened to you, like it happened to Mark, then the issue is apparently under control. The only thing I wish they would say is what happened. Just tell us. You can even make it super technical so that most people don't care. But I wish Roku would tell us roughly what occurred, because it might be, if they tell us what happened, then those of us who are heavy Roku users might be able to find a workaround the next time that this happens. Apparently, there are some who have a workaround, but it involves doing a hard restart and then putting your TV in like showroom mode. What do they call it? The retail mode, is essentially turning it into a dumb TV. And it's like, well, yeah, I guess that's a workaround. uh, okay. So Aviar says about 3 minutes. Oh, well, at least it wasn't too long. Ashley, it happened to you. Ashley over on Facebook says, it happened to me. I have the TV, had to unplug it. So yeah, a lot of times with issues like this, it's like, it could be that just by unplugging it and plugging it back in, you're resetting it. I mean, it's the classic IT solution, right? Turn it off, turn it back on. And a lot of times that just works out whatever bugs are in the system. Um, and sometimes it's the case that Roku is hard at work on it. And in the time it takes you to unplug it, plug it back in, and reboot your Roku, they fixed the issue. I don't know. Who knows what happened? Anyway. All right. Ooh, they use AWS as their backend, so it probably starts there. I did notice that. Oh, was it Wednesday? It might have been last night. I was having some issues with her. We don't say her name just in case she wakes up, but Echo. We'll call her Echo. Yeah, my Echo was. It kept telling me, "Oh, I'm sorry, that device is unresponsive." But after it happened to like 4 different devices, I'm like, "No, you're unresponsive." So who knows? Maybe it was all AWS. All right. Okay. So the other, let's move on to another. I think I've got 2 or 3 news items, and then we'll get to our topic of the day. Let's see. So this one, this is kind of a follow up to this week's video, which I'm sure all of you watched and liked and shared. I'm sure you all did that, right? So this week's video, I talked about the Netflix price increase. So if you haven't heard of this, Netflix increased their price by, oh gosh, 10%, 12%, something like that over most of their plans. I guess it was a little more than that. But anyway, I never do math live, right? They say that's one of the cardinal rules of live streaming, of live TV and all that. Don't do math live. Well, okay, I broke the cardinal rule. Anyway, so their middle of the road plan went from $14 a month up to $15.50. Their 4K plan 18 was 18, now it's 20, and their lowest tier standard def plan went from $9 to $10 a month. So all of their plans increased prices, which is interesting. Because now the news item that we have here is that Netflix added 8.28 million subscribers in Q4 2021. That's a lot. I mean, you think about this company that's got, what are they at now? Closing in on 220 maybe. So that's a significant chunk of their current subscriber base. So thanks to Cord Cutter News for this one. Let's see, in their earnings report Thursday afternoon, they said that they added over 8 million subscribers. So I only bring this up just because it's an interesting pairing with the news that they raised their prices. I am curious about. Sorry, cardinal rule of teaching. Nice. I am curious about what you all think of this. If you have thoughts about, especially the price increase, if you are or aren't Netflix subscribers. If you are, does this price hike make you reconsider your Netflix subscription? The thing for me about these price hikes is that there are always tons of complaints, right? Weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth all over social media. Everybody's going crazy about these price hikes, and then nobody cancels their subscriptions. I mean, that's kind of why I bring this up. 8.28 million subscribers added. Of course, they didn't raise their price in Q4, but I think they raised it in like Q2 or 3 last year. Like it wasn't that long ago that they went up to $14. Maybe I'm getting old and time is compressing into a flat circle, and so it was actually 18 years ago that all happened, but it seems like it wasn't very long ago that they raised that middle tier price to $14 a month. And people didn't cancel their subscription. They keep growing. And so anyway, with all the complainers that talk about the price hikes, my response is, okay, prove that you're angry about that by canceling your Netflix subscription. And it doesn't seem like many people are doing that. So yeah, George says, don't really care about the price increase. Oh, real quick. Hey, there's Diego, our buddy Diego, who joined us last week. Diego, nice to see you. Getting pricier to stream. I think you mean stream, but I like the idea that it's getting pricier to stream. I like the idea that we're all being charged for the privilege of yelling out, primally. That's fun. Okay. Okay, so Jadine says what makes me reconsider is the choices of things to watch. Need more content, more new content. You need more new content from Netflix. This is actually a great comment. Thank you for making the comment. But I gotta say that seems crazy just because of how much new content they make. It's utterly insane how much new content Netflix comes out with. The caveat to that, of course, for Janine and others like you, is that Netflix's new content isn't always made for you. And so if you have a really particular taste, you have a niche that you want fulfilled, then it's possible that they aren't making enough new content for you in that niche. But yeah, what's incredible about Netflix is just the absurd amount of content they put out on a weekly basis. I don't even have the numbers here, so I won't. Again, don't do math. Don't do math on the live stream. But I think what was the last number we saw for sure? I think it was in like 2020. They did 18 or 19 billion dollars in content. Crazy. All right. Let's see. Ashley. Oh, yeah. Ashley says I mooch my Netflix from my mom. I think a lot of people are in that boat. Fingers crossed she keeps paying. I love it. That's awesome. Joe says you dropped Netflix 2 years ago. Was it over a price hike, or was it just that you weren't really watching it as much anymore? I'm curious about that. Netflix stock is nosediving because they were 2 million short of estimates in the fourth quarter. Yeah, it's nosedive. I mean, I'm sure it dipped. So like Roku's stock dipped after their one of their chief executives left. These things happen, and I used to use those reports of stock prices to kind of gauge what was going on with companies. And it's not that they're not useful, it's just that they are of limited use outside of stock trading. It becomes more useful if a company is truly crashing, if their stock price is truly crashing. But taking a dip, even a severe dip, isn't really news for the average consumer like you and me. So anyway, so that's why I don't tend to talk about that as much as I once did. All right. Netflix. Oh, interesting. Okay. So let's see. Daniel says Netflix will do its metrics to see the average cost of cable rising and raise accordingly. So Daniel, you're saying, I think, that as cable and satellite providers raise their rates, Netflix sees it as an opportunity to say, hey, it's still a deal. Even if it's $1.50 more per month, it's still a deal compared to those guys. Which brings me to another news story, actually. So let's pull this one up again from Cord Cutters News. So thanks to those guys. This one is DirecTV increasing their prices and changing their regional sports network fees on January 23rd, which is in 2 days. So let's blow this up a little bit. We can see what it says. Let's see. Yesterday, price hike for most DirecTV stream packages, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so then they break down what the price increases are. Most of us, I think, here are not DirecTV subscribers, but it's still interesting to see because of the possibilities of things like what Daniel brings up here, taking a look at the rising costs of cable and satellite, and maybe some of these maybe some of these streaming providers are seeing it as an opportunity to raise theirs as well. So anyway, yeah, it looks like things are going up by a few bucks per package. Some of the big ones, the Max Plus is going up by $10 a month. Anyway, so let's see. All right, now this one is a little more sneaky and interesting to talk about because regional sports network fees don't tend to be calculated into the advertised cost of cable and satellite networks or providers, I should say. And so, yeah, it looks like they're raising theirs on most of these plans. Oh, goodness gracious. Did they not have an RSN fee, in that tier? I don't know, whatever. But it's raising by, actually, some of them are so these are coming down. I was looking at it backwards before. Anyway, so these are coming down, which is nice. But the reason I say these ones are a little sneakier is because they don't show up in the advertised price, and so it's harder to keep track of changes in these prices. But I guess this makes more sense as that these are coming down as the regional sports networks are feeling the crunch. This is one of those things that has kept people on cable and satellite for a long time, and so it makes sense that they're renegotiating contracts, they're signing streaming deals, they're doing whatever, getting on the sports specific streaming platforms like MLB TV or NHL TV or whatever, ESPN Plus, all those. So it makes sense that they're renegotiating those contracts and they're coming down. So that's nice, but yeah, that's one that you kind of have to hunt through your bill to find a little bit. Anyway, so there you go. Daniel, I like that comment. That's a good one. All right, let's see what else you guys have to say before we get to our topic of the day. So David says it's a ton of new content, but organized poorly. Okay, I think that's fair. I think that's really fair. It would be nice, in a way. I mean, I'd have to think about this a little bit more, but my gut says that it would be really nice if Netflix had some categories, some clearer and more accessible categories, I should say, that are new this week. Or, new. I guess they do have that, but it's sometimes you find things, it's like new releases, right? They'll have a new release category, and it's like that came out 8 months ago. But what they're doing, of course, is they're looking at your interests, your profile, and saying you tend to watch things like this. And so when they show new releases, they're actually just showing kind of a slice of their new releases that they think you would be interested in, which is nice in some ways. But I kind of would just like a list of everything that came out this week. Yeah, it might be nice. All right. Yeah, recently added movies. Yeah, exactly. Recently added movies. That's the kind of thing I'm thinking of, where it's like, yeah, exactly. That came out a year ago. I already watched it. Why are you advertising this to me? All right. So I'm going to catch up. I apologize. I'm going to drop down. I'm going to keep going through some of these comments. So if you had a question for me and I didn't answer your question, then you may want to resubmit it. Okay. So let's see. Okay, so Boyd says, "Can you tell me what's the best streaming device on my pocket? I have 4 TVs in my house." Ooh. Streaming, device. Yeah, okay. So I assume what you mean is what's going to be the nicest one for your budget. If you have 4 devices through your house, then you'll probably want to go with either Roku or Fire TV. And here's why. I have other devices that I think are actually a little better. The Chromecast with Google TV is maybe a little bit better. Certainly, the more expensive ones like the Apple TV, they're better, but that gets pricey. Even the Chromecast with Google TV, that's $50 a pop. I wonder if you can still get it for 40 now. Actually, that I think about it. Chromecast with Google TV, because around Christmas it was going for 40. Yeah, it's back up to 50 now. So $50 a pop for those Chromecasts means if you're outfitting 4 TVs, that's $200. Ha, math live on stream. There you go. So $200 for you to outfit it with all the Chromecasts. Obviously, you get into Apple TV where it's like $180 a pop. That's just a no-go as far as I'm concerned. So the reason I say Roku or Fire TV is because if you have like a primary TV, a TV that you use all the time, it's in the family room, maybe in the den or whatever. That one you're going to get a nice Roku device. Maybe not a Roku Ultra, depending on what your needs are. The Roku Ultra you can usually get for 80, maybe $90. But you could get, say, the Roku Streaming Stick Plus. So that one usually goes for 40 to 50. And it's a very good streaming stick. So you put that on your main TV. And then if you've got 3 other TVs throughout the house that don't get used quite as often, that's where the budget devices come in. Things like the Roku Express. I should say the Roku Express 4K Plus, right? So it's still only like 20, $25, something like that. So yeah, and then so it's much cheaper. So if you're doing that, let's say it's $25, yeah, you can outfit your whole house for say 125 plus tax, versus 200 for doing Chromecasts all over the place. And the same kind of thing goes with the Fire TV. You can get the Fire TV Stick 4K Max for your primary TV, and then just do some Fire Sticks or Fire Stick 4Ks on the other ones, and it's a little cheaper. So there you go. All right. Okay. So Wayna says that Fire TV is better than Roku. Well, that is a matter of opinion, but there are definitely reasons to say that. So there you go. George, you've asked me that a couple times. I don't know what that is, so no. Let's see. Oh, all right. Boyd says Roku it is. There you go. Yep, Samuel says, just heard about the Roku outage. We just talked about that a little bit ago, so I won't go back to that right now. But yeah, it should be resolved now for you. All right, so let's get into our topic of the day. In fact, we'll let David bring us in here. All right, so David brings us in this cheap versus expensive. In fact, I'm gonna hide that for a second, and then I'll come back to it. So the question today that I wanted to bring up is whether cheaper stuff is actually more expensive than expensive stuff. So this is an unformed thought. I'm trying this out on you guys. I want to hear what you have to say about it, because I'm wondering about the possibility of actually doing a video on this, looking into this further, but I'm not sure. So the reason this came up in my mind is that I was casting about, looking for topics to do for my next video. And yeah, can y'all hear the Air Force coming in? Yeah, I'm watching the F-16s fly right over my house. They are very loud, but not as loud as the F-22s. So anyway, all right. So I was casting about, looking for things to talk about on a future video, and a lot of my videos, a lot of my more popular videos in the past have been product reviews. So I'll review something like, the new On devices from Walmart. I did a review of those kind of, I don't know, last fall, maybe something like that. But then I was looking around, I was like, there hasn't really been a new device lately to talk about, with some exceptions. And this is what got me thinking about this topic, which is that the devices that are coming out are iterations of previous devices. And so you've got the Fire Stick, right? And then you got the Fire Stick 4K. Now we got the Fire Stick 4K Plus. Now it's the Fire Stick 4K Max Plus, that does your laundry and, calls you on the weekends and all that stuff. And it got me to thinking, there hasn't been a new Apple TV device in, what's it been now, 2 years? And before that, the Apple TV 4K was around for 2-3 years before they kind of did the next version of it with the better remote. Um, and it's the same thing with the NVIDIA Shield. The first one came out, kind of blew everybody's mind. And then the next one comes out years later, where they're like, okay, technology has improved and pricing for that technology has improved to the point where we can bring you a new device now. Versus things like Fire TV, like Roku, excuse me, like some of those Android TV devices like the On Box and that sort of thing. They come out with a new device, it seems like, a couple times a year. They're like, hey, now there's this new thing. We put the new chip in. This one's capable of Dolby. This one does 4K. This one does HDR10, whatever. Um, and it got me to thinking, if you buy a cheap device, is it going to end up being more expensive simply because uh, you are always trying to keep up with the next device? Okay, so that was what got me to thinking about it. You all start thinking about that. Hit the comments. So David says cheap versus expensive. If you're brand new to streaming, start cheap. If you're a veteran of streaming, to be clear, and know you're going to stick with it, go expensive. But check to see when the device was released, as a new one may be coming any day. There you go. David, you're a freaking mind reader. Okay, that's awesome. This is kind of where I'm at. Now, this isn't necessarily going to be the case for somebody. Who was I talking to? Boyd, who's saying, I got to outfit 4 TVs. You're not going to go expensive on all 4 TVs necessarily, unless you're rich. Hey, if you're rich, you do you. But for most of us, outfitting 4 TVs with Apple TV 4Ks, that's kind of out of the realm of possibility. But if you're only doing one, like this TV right here behind me, oh, can I point? Yeah, can tick a little bit back there in the back of the room. That is the only TV that I use. And therefore, if I have to choose one device, I'm going to, at this point, choose a good one, because I don't want to have to swap in a new device that, they're pretty good about porting over passwords and stuff, but it's not perfect. So you got to do a little setup on the new device, and it's a little annoying. Plus you had to spend another $40-$50 to get the new device. So yeah, anyway, that's where I'm at. Let me know what you guys think about this. All right. So, let's see. You guys don't hear the Jets. That's good to know. All right. It gets tiring after a while, says George. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. So, no one, 454. When it comes to high-end electronics, big screen TVs, laptops for productivity, yes, better to buy more expensive models. I ran into this with a laptop that I bought recently. It's just out of frame over here. I bought a laptop. I was working full-time. I had a full-time job for a while, and then quit that full-time job and went solo. So now I'm totally freelance. Hire me today, right? So now I'm totally freelance, and I had to turn in the company laptop that I had. And so I said, well, I got to get my own laptop now. I better go figure something out. So I went and I was looking at a few different laptops, and I'm like, well, this one is $2,000. That's a lot of money. This one's only $1,000. It has most of the specs I'm after. It should be fine, especially because I'm striking out on my own. I want to be careful. So I bought the cheaper laptop, and it's been 9 months ish now, and I've regretted it every day since. Every day that I use that laptop, I'm like, you know what? It would have been better for my life, for my work productivity. It would have been better for everything if I just bought the more expensive laptop. It's not always the case, but for the most part, you get what you pay for, right? So let's see. Eric says, with an excellent last name. I'm going to go with Boulanger on this one. I don't know how you pronounce it, but I lived in France for a couple of years, so I have to call you Boulanger. You have to wonder what features you really need or want. I'm not one of these people that buys the latest just to have it. If I'm going to use the features, sure. Excuse me. Yes, 1,000 times yes, Eric. I think that's true. I think that's very true with streaming devices. People will ask me, what is the best streaming device out there? And the answer is probably the NVIDIA Shield. if you use it. If it's just a Netflix delivery device, get a Roku. But if you're actually going to use its screen sharing features and its gaming features, that sort of thing, then the power of the NVIDIA Shield is pretty remarkable. So yeah, I think you're spot on with that one. Okay, let's see. And then this is another one. John says NVIDIA Shield is always updated for the future. There you go. Yeah. Future proofing. And the lesser devices, the Roku sticks of the world, also update for a while. But you'll notice every year or so, Roku and Amazon, they'll come out with these announcements that say that, okay, that first gen, okay, now the second gen, and now the third gen, we're not going to support those devices anymore. It's not that they completely become bricks, but the software updates stop happening. And so after a while, yeah, they do become bricks. So there you go. Let's see. Prefer the Apple TV 4K because it's the only reliable streaming box that has a reliable frame rate match. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, there you go. And that's the kind of thing where you sound like a power user. If you understand frame rate matches, then yeah, I think power users, go for it. Get the more expensive devices. Most people don't know what that means. And they don't care. They don't care about the frame rates. They just want to watch, reruns of The Simpsons or, whatever. For me, it's Friends. And so if that's the case, you don't care about frame rate matching, then just go grab your cheap Roku. But for those who care about such things and who notice such things, then yeah, I think going for the expensive devices is a good call. It's kind of the same thing with audio files. Gee, many Christmas. They are really running some jet exercises today, aren't they? Man. With audio files, you get you get into listening to music and you're like, oh yeah, my $30 earbuds sound great. And then you get a pair of $200 headphones and you're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And then a real audiophile will laugh at you and pull out their $3,000 headphones. And they're like, this is a transcendent experience. For most people, can't even tell the difference. But for a true audiophile, you really can. And it makes a difference. Streaming devices are probably similar in that way. All right. LG says, this reminds me of the Boots theory of socioeconomic unfairness. It's worth Googling. Yeah, no, I think I know what you're talking about, where if I remember it correctly, and I may get it slightly wrong here, but let me see how I do. The Boots theory of socioeconomic unfairness is that the rich are able to accrue more wealth because the products that they buy are better and longer lasting. So the boots would be the example here, where it's like, because you're poor, you can only afford to buy cheap boots. And so those boots, let's say you buy boots for $30. They're a cheap pair of boots for $30. And then that cheap pair of boots wears out after a year, whatever. And then you got to go buy another cheap pair of boots for $30. And you're doing that year after year after year. But if you're wealthy and you can buy a more expensive pair of boots, let's say you buy a $100 pair of boots. Let's make it 120 so that it's divisible. We're doing math live on stream. My gosh, this is the most mathy stream I think I've ever done for you guys. So now you bought a $120 pair of boots. It's an expensive pair of boots, whatever. But that pair of boots lasts you for 10 years. And over those 10 years, the poor person has bought $300 worth of boots, and you spent $120 on a pair of boots. Anyway, so I think that's what that is. And yeah, I think that's what we're getting at. With streaming devices, it may, and I should say, let me bring this back to streaming devices now. Okay, full circle here. The reason I bring this up is just because when I started this channel back in 2016, I think it was 2016, new devices were cropping up all the time. Forget new services. I mean, obviously new services were going gangbusters for a while. That one still is kind of going a little bit crazy, less so than last year or 2 years ago. But anyway, 2016, it was like a new device every month. Everybody was trying to get into the game. And things, it seems like, have really settled down now. And so when I was first reviewing devices, I was like, hey, look, there's a new device pops up all the time. These things are like popcorn. We got to make sure we keep track of all of them and review them all, really, really closely. And now it's getting to the point where things have settled down, and I'm not sure that's the case anymore. So I'm wondering if my calculus needs to change with how I think about these things. So, all right. Let's see. Oh, okay. I like this. So, sorry, now we're getting into just kind of cord cutting generally. David says switching from cable to streaming can be difficult. I always advise starting with one TV or PC if possible, trying it for a month and seeing if it works for you before telling the cable company to stick it. So try streaming, see if you like it before you actually really dig in. Excuse me. All right. Okay. We're doing mega capitalism. uh, okay, so Daniel, let's I haven't read this whole thing, but let's see what you say. All right, I don't get the argument of buy cheap if you're new. You're still playing catch up. The on box uses the same OS as an NVIDIA Shield. There's no learning curve. It's roughly the same OS. No, that's true. There's no learning curve. There's no learning curve. However, it kind of goes to what David was saying just a moment ago. If you are new, if you're just switching and you're kind of trying out streaming for a while, you're trying it for a month, seeing if it works for you before telling the cable company to stick it. I think that's what we're getting at with the cheap devices, where if you're just trying it out, you don't know if this is the way that you are going to want to uh, you know consume your media pretty soon. I think within another 5 or 10 years we won't have any choice, right? We'll probably have to do that, but for those who still want to potentially stick with the older way of doing things with cable and satellite, you buy a cheaper device because trying something out, you get that on box for $30, or was it 25, 30, whatever it was. You get the $30 on box. That's a lot less of an investment than $150 or $200 NVIDIA Shield. And if you like the on box and you like the platform that it's on, you're like, okay, yeah, I understand how this works, the navigation, the settings, and all this stuff. Great. Bump your way up to the NVIDIA Shield if you feel like you're going to use it for what it's worth, right? So yeah, I think that's the argument we're getting at. But it's a good point to bring up. Yeah, Professor Craig's Econ 101. Yeah. Yikes. Yikes. Okay. Okay. Well, I got to say, I'm losing track of a lot of what you guys are saying, for which I apologize, but for which I also thank you. Thank you for being active in the chat. It's much appreciated. It's great to have a bunch of you here. While I've got you here, let me just remind everybody who is here on the chat to go to the giveaways page. I talked about this at the very beginning of the stream, but this week's giveaway is, there you go, a $50 gift card toward a Netflix subscription. So pop into that page. You just go in, put a few pieces of information. Let's see, did you subscribe? Are you 18 or older? Whatever. And that ghost circle is going to drive me crazy till I get rid of it. But I'm so lazy, you guys. I'm so lazy. Anyway, so yeah, go enter for a $50 Netflix gift card, and I will announce the winner of that one next week. All right. So in the meantime, let's see what else we got here. Julio says, I told him to stick it before even getting it. There you go. And I think that's true for a lot of people of a certain age. So let's see. I was born in 86, and my guess would be, if you were born definitely after 95, but probably after 1990, you probably never had a cable subscription in your name. Your parents might have had one. You kind of grew up around cable and satellite, whatever. But if you're of a certain age, I bet that it's very probable that you never subscribed to cable in your own name, if that makes sense. So let's see. Oh, there you go. Yeah, if you get your local channels through an antenna, there you go. Nice. All right. Oh, the difference between Netflix on Android TV versus TV OS is jarring. Movie schmovie. That's great. Podcast, huh? Nice. Um, one day we need to have an honest talk about the differences in the quality of the actual apps on platforms. That's actually a great idea. I appreciate that. I'm writing that down. You guys, I am writing this one down. That's um uh okay. I like this. Yeah, thank you for the comment, and I am going to consider that for a future video. I love getting video ideas here. So basically, I think what you're saying is and so the difference is jarring. I'm curious which one you think is better. Um, so just for the sake of argument, let's say it's TVO or tvOS. I don't know, Android TV, whatever. Let's say the Android TV one is so much better. Why don't they all operate this way? That would be an interesting topic to get into. So yeah, I appreciate that. All right. I review and have all the streaming devices they make. Apple TV is the only one that always works. Plus, it has the best app versions. Most companies make apps for Apple first. Yeah, I think that's fair-ish. Almost. In the case of streaming, I think Roku and Fire TV would probably vie for that position of what developers are thinking about first. But I am not sure. And plus, it's also easier, if you're making if you're making an app that'll work on an iPhone, it's easy to port that over to the Apple TV. So they might be making it for iPhone over Roku. Yeah, that's something I would like to dig into. So I like it. All right, Chris, great show. Thank you. Appreciate that. What do you think of Xfinity streaming service? Is it even worth it? So Xfinity they've got the streaming box, the Flex, and then do they call their streaming platform X1? I can't that I know that's what they call their cable, but I can't remember if they're borrowing that name and making things really confusing the way AT&T did for years. What do I think of it? Is it even worth it? Uh uh, I haven't used it extensively. Okay, so let me caveat that. And if any Xfinity people are watching, then let me just say, I'm happy to do some more deep dive on that if they want to provide me with free products and services. Um, but here's what I'll say, generally speaking, about things like this. Whether it's Xfinity's streaming service or device, if it's the Xfinity Flex or whatever service that they've got, the purpose of those is to keep you on board as a customer, which is fine. That is not a complaint on my part. It just means to me that if you are really wrapped up in Xfinity's ecosystem, so you've got them as your internet service provider. You do their home security stuff. You've got a phone service through them, or whatever. You've got a bunch of Xfinity products. Then it might make sense to stick within that suite of products and use their streaming devices and streaming platforms. That might make sense. If it's just about streaming, no, it's not going to be as good as what you would get from the dedicated streamers, the Rokus, the Fire TVs, the Apple TVs, whatever. Those are going to be a better bet if it's just about the streaming. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Again, grains of salt, because while I am somewhat familiar and have used it a little, I'm not, I haven't done a deep dive on those Xfinity services lately. All right. Okay. Aaron says the Peacock app is awful on all devices. This is how I feel about Hulu. I can't. I have been. I've been reviewing streaming stuff for 5.5 years now, something like that, and I still can't figure out the Hulu app. I hate it so much. I hate their navigation. I'm sure, like, it's probably because I don't use Hulu as regularly as say Netflix and HBO Max and all that. But this is how I feel about Hulu, and this is apparently how you feel about Peacock, which I think is fair. Peacock, they have so much going on with the live TV feeds and the WWE thing, and the here's the movies and the TV channels and the homepage, and it gets to be a bit much. So I'm with you there. All right. Aha. So John, was it you that said it at the very beginning? Somebody said at the very beginning that Joel, somebody told us that the Weather Channel is coming to YouTube TV soon. That was like the first comment on this whole stream. And now John is saying, I'm super excited that YouTube TV is getting the Weather Channel because I live in Tornado Alley, right next to Joplin, Missouri. Wow, yeah, that's. I've got a brother in Indiana, and we definitely made some phone calls over the last couple months. So, all right. Depends on what's available. Okay, yeah, we're talking about going back to the Xfinity issue. Depends on what's available in your neighborhood. Verizon and T-Mobile now have 5G services advertised as cable replacements. Yes, true. And without being an expert, we need to go to Tashaka on this one, or maybe Juan, and find out what the state of these is. We could also talk to Sherry at Whistleout, because I'm not totally sure, but I will say with any technology like this, any new solution like this, I almost always say, yeah, let's give it until Gen 2 at least, right? So Gen 1 is always like the early adopters can go check it out, and then the bugs get worked out, and the rest of us can go check it out on Gen 2 or 3. That's my normal philosophy. All right. Let's see. Chris wants a shout out for Heidi. You love tuning in every Friday. Wow. Yeah, Chris, I got to be honest, I don't recognize your name. Maybe have you piped up before? I love that you're here. So glad you're here on Fridays. Glad to have everybody with us. And Chris, I hope that I get to know your name a little bit better as I see it more often. All right. Let's see. Daniel says Disney did a great job of emulating Netflix's ease of use. Yeah, well, I think that's fair. I think Disney Plus does something interesting where it's easy to navigate like Netflix is, but they borrowed what came first. I guess they probably came up with it first, and then HBO Max did it later. Disney Plus has the hubs, so you got your Star Wars hub, your Marvel hub, your Disney hub, your Nat Geo. I think I'm missing one, Pixar. So they have these different hubs that you can go into. But that's like it's right up top. On HBO Max, they kind of hide that in the side menu or way down at the bottom. Trying to find the hubs is a little bit more dicey. So yeah, I do like that about Disney Plus. All right, you guys, I'm going to go for just a couple more minutes. I'll answer a few more questions. Where do you go to enter the weekly giveaways? Go to you're on YouTube. So yeah, the description. Go to the description. There's a link in the description. Click on that. It takes you right to the page. Entering is the easiest thing in the world. I guess that's probably not true, but it's very easy. All right. Aha. Julio. Okay, this is a very common question. Now that we're talking about streaming services, is there a point where you need to consider getting cable if you're paying for a lot of streaming services? Somebody tweeted at me about this the other day. I want to see if I can pull it up. I guess I could just put it on the screen, but this is fine. This is fine. Everything's fine. We're all fine. Okay. So somebody tweeted, Jim Gaffigan tweets out, they should bundle all the streaming services together and call it cable. Ha ha ha, I guess. Whatever. So he says, so that was Jim Gaffigan. And then somebody tweeted, he's not wrong. He quote tweeted that, tagged me in the tweet. And I said, except of course, he is wrong. And then that person did not care for that tweet, apparently. But my point when I say, okay, so again, the Jim Gaffigan tweet is they should bundle all the streaming services together and call it cable. 194,000 likes on that tweet, by the way. No, they shouldn't. They shouldn't. So this gets into your question here, Julio. Is there a point where you need to consider getting cable if you're paying for a lot of streaming services? I don't think so. what you need to do if you're paying for that many streaming services, you need to really rethink your streaming strategy. Let me show you what I mean. Okay. This is- Let's pull up a page here. We're going to do some live math, everybody. We're going to finish this stream with some live math. Oh, real quick. I have no idea. Please. Oh, investing in YouTube TV. If you're actually asking for investment advice, then this is not the channel for you. If you just mean is it worth getting it, then let's talk about that. Okay, so let's go back to this. We're gonna end on this one. Is there a point where you need to consider getting cable if you're paying for a lot of streaming services? Okay, so first of all, let's blow this up a little bit. I just needed a page that I could write on, and let's okay. Cable. What? Tell me in the chat. What are you guys all paying for cable? If you or what was the last cable bill that you paid? Do you recall? Okay, so let's say let's see, average cable monthly cost. Okay, so what are we looking at? Maybe I guess it gets tricky when you combine TV and internet. Let's try to separate that out. So maybe like $100, maybe 120, depending on what you're paying for. Some of the better packages might be pushing a little bit. So let's see. Julio says cable plus internet $200. So yeah, I think 120, 125 is probably pretty close. Let's just, you know what? Let's be conservative on this one and say $100. Okay, so let's say $100. Oh, you know, okay. So now, okay, that's what we're comparing this to. Okay, let's take our most popular platforms. We've got Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, Disney Plus. Disney. What else do we want? Peacock. And now I need to like turn on my TV so I can be reminded of everything I'm not thinking of. Prime Video. What are some other paid ones? I'm thinking of on-demand streamers right now. Let's see. Oh wow, 165 when you canceled, Anna. That's amazing. Billy paid 149. Okay. All right. So let's see. Any other major ones? You know what? Hang on. Okay. Yeah, we're turning on the TV just so I can make sure. Oh, Apple TV Plus. Duh. One of my favorites. Apple TV Plus. All right. What else we got? Prime Video, YouTube, Netflix, Disney Plus. Oh, yeah. How about Discovery Plus and Paramount Plus? Okay. Discovery Plus and Paramount Plus. Okay. And then, so those are on demand. Now we've got live TV streamers, YouTube TV, Hulu Live, Fubo, Sling. Yeah, there's a couple others, but let's just leave it at that. Okay. All right. So, how are we looking? Netflix. Let's go with let's see. So Netflix, we're going to go kind of middle of the road packages for these. Netflix is now $15.50. You know what? Let's round it up. Sorry, Netflix. We're going to round you up. $16 for Netflix. Hulu, let's do the commercial supported package. What's that? $7. If I get some of these wrong, I apologize, but we're just going to go fast here. HBO Max, commercial supported, yeah, $10. You can get the $15 non-commercial version. Let's see. Disney Plus is $8. Peacock is free, but you can get premium versions, obviously. Prime Video is a weird one, but we're gonna slot this in at $10 a month. It's a weird one because most people, it seems like most people have Amazon Prime anyway, and so they're not necessarily subscribing to Prime Video. They're getting Prime Video because they subscribe to Prime, right? So it's a weird one, but we'll include it. Okay. Apple TV Plus is $5. Discovery Plus is $5. Paramount Plus, I think is 5 for the commercial supported, or is it 7 for commercial supported? It might be 7. I'll look it up real quick. Paramount Plus pricing. I can't remember which one this is. Yeah, this one's 5. Okay, good. All right, here's where we're at. So now we add all those together. Let's do a little calculator. All right. So now add all these together. We've got 16, 7, 10, 8, 10, 5, 5, 7. All right. That's $68 a month. Okay. So already, let's say you subscribe to every single one of these. And obviously this can come down. Like if you you want to add ESPN Plus in there, and so you just get the Hulu, Disney Plus, ESPN Plus package. Actually, I think that's about right. It's like 14 or 15 bucks. Anyway, so there are ways you subscribe to the annual plan instead of the monthly plan, and you can actually bring this number down a little bit. But let's just use this 68 bucks. You're already coming out ahead with just about every major streaming on-demand platform out there. Now, where it gets tricky is if you are married to the idea of live TV, you must have the regular live TV channels in your life. Then it does get tricky because YouTube TV, I think right now starts at 65. Hulu Live starts at 70, but of course then you're getting Disney Plus and Hulu and all that. Fubo, I think, still starts at 65. Sling, let's call it 50. Might be up to 55 now. I'm not sure. Anyway, so now you can see you add that to any one of these, and yeah, it is starting to get a little pricier. So my 2 pieces of advice for somebody who's thinking in these terms. So Julio says, is there a point where you need to consider getting cable if you're paying for a lot of streaming services? Well, okay, so we need to add Wi-Fi to the cost, says Nathaniel. I think that's fair. But we're trying our best right now to just kind of stick with TV services. Okay, so let's go back to this. All right, so what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so if you're married to this and you want to subscribe to all these, then yeah, it gets a little hairy. Rethink live TV. That would be my advice to somebody who's thinking along these lines. You don't need, except for sports, sometimes, you don't actually need these services except for sports. I'm just going to go ahead and plant my flag. I'm making quite a statement there. With the exception of some sports channels, you don't need these. Everything else that you get on here, you can get through this. With some exceptions, I suppose. But there's a streaming service for just about everything. The only difference is you might not be able to get to watch something live, just like everybody else. So if you watch the latest episode of fill in the blank, you might not get to. So anyway, so already we get rid of these. If we don't use those, then boom, you can subscribe to all those and you're already way under your average monthly cable cost. Now, if you're still not satisfied with that and you're like, you know what, 68 bucks a month, that's a lot to be paying for these, then just consider there's no way that you're actually using all of these services. It would be superhuman. You'd have to be a reviewer, like what was the Movie Schmovie podcast or something? Like if you're a content reviewer and you're literally being paid to watch all of these things all the time, then maybe. That's why do I subscribe to all these? Yes, on somebody else's dime sometimes. Some of these are my subscriptions, but that's the only reason I can think of to actually have all of these all the time. But for the most part, it's like pick your top 3. I love Netflix, I love HBO Max, and for the kids, I want Disney Plus. You maybe throw Hulu in there. You do that, and you're looking at what's it, 26, 33, 41 bucks a month. So like that would be a very reasonable cost for some of those. And then add the other ones in. Prime Video, like I said, that doesn't really count. Anyway, so does that make sense? It's this is my response is that generally speaking, I think people haven't quite done the math. So the other thing to think about is that when you're signing up for cable, especially when you're signing up for satellite, it's not just about the cost, it's about the freedom. So you sign up for satellite, and it's a 2-year contract minimum, right? And then you're going to get a price hike after that first year. I think is it DirecTV that still does that, or Dish? I can't remember which one. Um, you're gonna get a price hike. So you got your advertised sticker price, and then that jumps after a year, right? Um, and cable isn't so bad these days. Like on their contract, I think it's a 1-year contract usually. And even with cable, I think with Xfinity they offer no contract services, but it's an additional $10 a month if you want to go month to month. At least the last time I looked into it. So anyway, it's that freedom of being able to say, you know what, there's a massive show that's coming out on Hulu, or I can't miss the new the Rings of Power. Is coming out later this year on Prime Video. I can't miss that, so I got to make sure I'm signed up for it for the 3 or 4 months that it's airing, and then I'm good. I can cancel it for a while. You can't really do that with cable, so it's not just about the cost; it's also about the freedom. That would be my response to that. I hope that makes sense. All right. So there we go. Hey, you know what? We just gave you guys a shout out. It was relevant, I promise. But hey, everybody go check out Whistle Up. Anyway, so hopefully that makes sense. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We just hit the hour mark, and my throat is starting to get a little scratchy. So you know what that means. I have to go. I have to end the stream so I can go cough and hack and drink a lot of water. Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. I will be here again, obviously next Friday for the live stream, but my next weekly video should come out next Wednesday. So please support that. When you see that pop up on your notifications, which I'm sure you will because you hit the bell icon and all that stuff, then go give that video a watch, give it a like, and share it with your various internet hordes. Would be much appreciated. All right, everybody, I will see you next Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, for another one of these delightful live streams. Thank you so much for your participation. It was off the charts today, and I will see you next time.